Hey, what's up, guys? I hope you're doing super well today. I'm sure you've heard about this NAR antitrust lawsuit going on right now. Basically, it states that there's specific rules that NAR has in place that creates a price-fixing situation with the buyer agent commission. Okay, so I want to dive in on this. I want to give you my opinions. I'm hoping that my opinions really kind of eases the pressure for you on this. I don't think this is a big deal whatsoever. And there's a lot of people out there that are stating that they feel like commissions are going to be cut 50% if this thing goes through, and that buyer agents are going to go away. Well, let me just go on record here and say that this lawsuit has absolutely nothing to do with how much agents get paid, what the commission rates are. That's going to be dictated by the market itself, what our value is actually worth. And I think the market is speaking loud and clear. As far as buyer agents, they're here to stay. People need representation, want representation, and will continue to have representation regardless of what happens here. So to say that commissions are going to go down 50% and there's going to be no more buyer agents, that shouldn't even be part of the conversation right now. Okay, so let's dive into this lawsuit. So the first thing I want you to realize is how incredibly grateful you need to be that we even have MLS and the way that it's set up and the efficiency that it brings to our industry. A lot of countries don't have it. They have open mandate listings, which means the seller picks 8 different listing agents and the first one that brings the buyer wins. And all the rest of them lose the deal altogether, right? We're incredibly blessed to be in the situation where we can do an exclusive right to sell, put it on MLS, and then the entire population of agents in our market are fighting to go sell it for us. We need to be thanking our lucky stars that we're in this situation to begin with. Now, with that being said, there's always going to be people out there with something like this that says, that's not right. You know, you can't do that. That's no way. That's against the antitrust rules. Now, the argument here is that sharing of commissions between listing and buyer broker violates the Sherman Antitrust Act by inflating sellers' cost. Are you kidding me? Absolutely not. That seller agreed to that commission regardless if there's a buyer agent involved or not. They're going to pay me that 5%, 6%, whatever it is, regardless if there's a buyer agent involved. So what should it matter? It's kind of like a contractor, right? When they work a deal with a homeowner to do a project, they have a subcontractor come in and do the work, and they pay the subcontractor out of the negotiated price with the homeowner. How is this any different? And I love what one of Inman's publishers, Bernice Ross, said. She's also the CEO of Brokerage Up and realestatecoach.com, but she called these lawsuits against NAR duds. Now, she did say that there are some problems and that we need to make some adjustments in terms of the rules and how everything's addressed, which I 100% agree. Now, what's so funny here is that I was at Inman a few weeks ago doing a breakout session, and Bernice actually heckled me. What's the number one reason why a buyer or seller chooses a particular real estate agent? Do what? NAR did a study, and it was that they had a friend in the business with a great reputation. Yes, ma'am.
That's the correct answer, actually. The most recent profile of buyers and sellers shows that 82% of the sellers only interviewed one agent whom they hired. The first person who gets to them when they're ready to transact is the one who will get the deal.
Awesome, awesome. And I would fear to say that if they had a friend in the business, that's probably going to be that first call, right?
They have 12.
Right. I understand.
I do this stuff for my living.
I understand. Thank you. So for my business, not the rest of the industry, let's just say, right? Not the rest of the industry, just my business, right? I've created friends in my market, and they use me and only me. Right? And I teach other agents to do the same thing, and they've been highly successful. We have a guy that's 20 months in, he closed 100 deals in his first 20 months. 2 agents closed 10 million in the first, two new agents in the first year closed 10 million in the first year, just by doing what I'm talking about. What's the definition of a lead? What would you say, ma'am, is the definition of a lead? Ma'am? The definition of a lead, I'd love to hear from you. Definition of a lead.
A lead, there are several different ways people categorize these, but
yes,
some people, for me, a lead is someone who's either raised their hand that they're interested in purchasing or listing.
Got you.
My definition is any human being in the market. Because the fact is that the humans who raise their hand are human. And if they're not raising their hand now, they're going to raise their hand at some point. And if I have made the connection, had a real life conversation with them, and then marketed and branded to them in a way where I'm showing them who I am as a person, that I care about them, there's a good chance that when they raise their hand, they're going to be raising it to me. Right? So I'm just trying to collect humans. Right? Leads are humans. So here's what we know. All closings originate from relationships. The more relationships you have with people in your market, the more closings you'll have. It's not official, guys.
Now, as this was happening, I had no idea who this was. This lady is a legend in the industry. I talked to her for a long time after the session, and she's a great, great woman. Now, back to the lawsuit. This has nothing to do with the amount of money agents make, the percentage of commission, or if there's even buyer agents. And I would argue that if there ever was a scenario, which I don't believe ever would happen, where buyers basically had to go through the listing agent, we would still be 5%, 6%, whatever it is that we charge now, whatever the normal is, because even in that instance, we're still representing, there's two people involved, and we're doing twice as much work, and we're juggling more balls, right? It's gonna be really, really tough for this to happen in a manner that really decreases commissions. It's not even part of this. Now, the rules that NAR have in place that we're fighting over here basically states that if you're a listing agent, you put a property in MLS, you have to put a buyer agent commission in there. And that commission cannot be negotiated, right? And they're arguing that this is where the price fixing is. This is where the price fixing problem occurs. Now, again, my thoughts on this is very simple, okay? Even if this went to the very worst case scenario, not a lot's going to change. Sellers are still going to opt in to pay that buyer agent commission, right? Especially when they see other sellers doing it, right? There may be a shock to the system, but everything's going to pan out. The dust is going to settle, right? Let's say that doomsday happens and the seller can't pay, right? Never happened. Let's say it happens. The seller can't pay, right, out of that listing site commission. The buyer has to pay their own fee. Okay, in that scenario, you may say, well, buyers can't afford it. You can't figure it into the loan and all this and that. Listen, if something happens to that capacity, it's going to be figured into the loan, right? I think that in that scenario, all right, the banks are going to go back and there's going to be new rules in place, right, that's actually going to allow that to happen, right? So there's a lot of different scenarios here. At the end of the day, nothing to worry about.